Amadwa, Panyua, Yerushalayim, stand and face Jerusalem. Blessing of the Feast of Purim. Barakatha Yahweh, Bashem, Yahweh, Asherah, Nathanael, Akab, Pawarium, Bashalawam, Tawada, Amen. Blessed are you, Yahweh. In the name of Yahweh Shai that gives to us the Feast of Purim and peace. Thank you, so be it. Gabar, read everything. The Aliyah Ma'ah Asherai Machad, Psalms 121. Anya Rayam Naimya Oh Haryam Mayan Yabawa Azorya Yabawa Mayahawa Shashab Shemayim Warataza La Yanathan Lamawat Regalia Yela Yanawam Shashramarka Hana La Yanawam Wala Yashin Shashramar Yashvalib Yehawah Shamaria Yehawah Tazalia Ayo Yed Yem Yed Yawamam Hashamash La Hakaya Wayarak La Balayala Yehawah Yashamaria Makab Ray Yashamar Napasha Yahweh Yashamar Hawalakya Wabuaya My Fa wa Aid I Willam Basham Yehoshua for what Amen.
Psalms 121. I will lift up my eyes into the hills, from whence cometh my help. My help cometh from the Lord, which made heaven and earth. He will not suffer thy foot to be moved. He that keepeth thee will not slumber. Behold, he that keepeth Israel shall neither slumber nor sleep. The Lord is thy keeper. The Lord is thy shade upon thy right hand. The sun shall not smite thee by day, nor the moon by night. The Lord shall preserve thee from all evil. He shall preserve thy soul. The Lord shall preserve thy going out and thy coming in from this time forth, and even forevermore.
Amen. Shemaiah Sharela, hero Israel, Deuteronomy 6:4. Shemaiah Sharela, Yahweh, Elohim, Yahweh, Akab. Shemaiah Sharela, Yahweh, Elohim, Yahweh, Akab. Shemaiah Sharela, Yahweh, Elohim, Yahweh, Akab.
Deuteronomy chapter 6 and verse 4. Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God is one Lord. And thou shalt love the Lord.
That's it.
Amen.
Tapula Yahweh, the Lord's Prayer, Matthew 6 and 9. Abinawe Shabbat Shemayim Kodash Hayye Shanke Yahweh Malakwath Kev Saba'e Rataza one Kev Hayye Aisha Barataza Keba Shemayim Nathan the Nawe Lacham Yawam Zed wasalak nawe kabawat nawe kasalach nawe kabawat yanawe wala abiyar nawe oh nasayawan abo awashine nawe murad kaya laka hamalakwat wa ala wa taparat wa walam man.
Matthew chapter 6 and verse 9. After this manner, therefore pray ye, Our Father which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done in earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts as we forgive our debtors. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory. Well,
Shirama Tazawa, the Ten Commandments, Exodus 20 and 3. La'at, Yahayat, Lakat, Alahayim, Akariam, Alapiyat, La'at, Thaishat, Lakat, Paso, Wala'at, Thaibadam, La'at, Valakwaka, Shamwa, Yahawah, Alahayaka, Lashawat, Zakar, Af, Hayawam, Hashabath, La Kodashwad, Kabad, Abiyakab, Wa Amakab, La'at, Taratazak, La'at, Tana'at, La'at, Taganab, La'at, Tainad, Shakur, La'at, Tachamat, Ko, Asharat, Lara'ikab, Aman.
The book of Exodus, chapter 20, and verse 3. But God came to Thou shalt have no other gods before me. Thou shalt not make unto thee any graven images, or any likeness of anything that is in heaven above, or that is in the earth beneath, or that is in the water under the earth. Thou shalt not bow down thyself to them, nor serve them. For I, the Lord thy God, am a jealous God, visiting the iniquity of the fathers upon the children unto the third and fourth generation of them that hate me, and showing mercy unto thousands of them that love me and keep my commandments. Thou shalt not take the name of the Lord thy God in vain, for the Lord will not hold him guiltless that taketh his name in vain. Remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. 6 days shalt thou labor and do all thy work, but the seventh day is the Sabbath of the Lord thy God. In it thou shalt not do any work, thou, nor thy son, nor thy daughter, thy manservant, nor thy maidservant, nor thy cattle, nor thy stranger that is within thy gates. For in 6 days the Lord made heaven and earth, the sea, and all that in them is, and rested the seventh day. Wherefore the Lord blessed the Sabbath day and hallowed it. Honor thy father and thy mother, that thy days may be long upon the land which the Lord thy God giveth thee. Thou shalt not kill. Thou shalt not commit adultery. Thou shalt not steal. Thou shalt not bear false witness against thy neighbor. Thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's house. Thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's wife, nor his manservant, nor his maidservant, nor his ox, nor his ass, nor anything that is thy neighbor's. Amen.
Amen. Yeshua, please be seated. Barak Yahweh by Shemi Hawashai, Asheran, Fananawa, Pari, Agapan, Tuada, Aman. La Yahweh by Shemi Hawashai of Yasharala. English translation. Blessed are you, Yahweh, in the name of Yahweh Shai, that gives to us the fruit of the vine. Thank you, so be it. To Yahweh, in the name of Yahweh Shai, with Israel. Amadwa, Panywa, Jerusalem, stand and face Jerusalem. Barakathu Yahweh, Haggadah, Rakawam, Nabiyah, Wanaba'ah, Elyawan, Malak, Shamayim, Warataza, Wako, Dabarim, Kayayam, Wagam, Mashiach, Mayahawe, Arawanawe, Ahamnawe, Apalat, Yawaitaza, Yahawashai, Sakarnawe, Yahawe, Bartazawan, Ainka, Yashalet, Izarnawe, Bana, Wazat, Yashalet, O Nanawe, Yum Yum, Aitha, Kayawamyam, Makwadam, Babakushai, Shalak, Mike Allah, Watazawatak, Alahayim, La, Maganawa, Raparnawa, Washamar, Ilnawa, Bakur, Shalak, Haruka, Shao, Yahushai, Lanawa, Lalabadnawa, Rabium, Kakama, Sabawana, Wada Show the barker Basham Yahusha the water them yet why willam man. English translation. Blessed are you, Yahweh, the great, merciful, mighty, terrible, most high power, King of heaven and earth and all things living, and also the anointed from Yahweh, our Lord, our friend, the wonderful counselor, Yahushua. Remember, Yahweh, favorably your people Israel. Help us build and gather Israel, Most High, we beg you, right now, like the days of old. Please send Michael and the righteous powers to protect us, heal us, and watch over us. Mainly send the spirit of Yahushua to us. Teach us much wisdom, knowledge, and understanding of thy word. In the name of Yahushua, thank you, always and forever, so be it. Repeat the Hebrew only. Blessed are you, Yahweh, in the name of Yahushua that gives to us the law. Barakatha Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushua, Asherat, Natan Lanawa, Hathawarat, Blessed are you, Yahweh. In the name of Yahweh Shai that gives to us light to see. Barakatah Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, Asheret, Nathan Lanawa, Award, Lara Awak. Blessed are you, Yahweh. In the name of Yahweh Shai that gives to us the ram's horn to call the people. Barakatah Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, Asheret, Nathan Lanawa, Quran, Hayo, La Korah, Ha'ain, Yishabwa. You see it. Okay, so Shalom Yasharallah.
Shalom.
Okay, so Shalom everybody's here with us in Philly. Shalom everybody watching us on live stream. Shalom everybody listening in on teleconference. Welcome to Ha Yasharallah Kanas, or the Congregation of Israel, where we teach that the descendants of slaves, as well as the indigenous peoples found throughout the Americas mainly, make up the southern and northern kingdoms of the 12 tribes of Israel. And that we teach that we fell to a lower state as a people, politically, economically, even religiously, because we broke the laws of God found in the Bible given to us by Moses. And that we as a people come out of our lower state by turning back to these commandments we broke by following Jesus the Christ, or in the Hebrew, Yahweh Shai Mashiach. One way to do that is by keeping the high holy days of the Lord. In this time of year, coming at the end of the winter, we remember the days of Purim, which we keep as a feast to recognize great forefathers and foremothers, two in particular, a man named Mordecai and a woman named Esther, or as her given name was, Hadassah. We remember them, especially this day and tomorrow, for their courageous acts they did that were mighty before the Lord to preserve our people from sure destruction at the hand of our enemies. Who are the enemies of Israel? They are the nations, right? These other nations don't serve the true and living God, right? As we were instructed to, thereby making us enemies with them, and even more so making them enemies with the Most High. But we'll read more about that as we get into at least the first half of the story, when we get into the time period that we're in and what led up to the situation. Okay, so my name is Nabia Zerbabal. I have the privilege and pleasure of going through the lesson with you guys this evening on the 12th month and the 14th day that we're in right now. If you look here at the bottom, we've got the Hebrew letters Ah, Shah, and Ra, which is together a Shah, which just means happy. And we have a Cha and a Ga, which is Chag, which just means feast. And then a Pa, a Wa, a Ra, and then Yam. A Pa, Wa, and Ra, that's how you say in the English per, or P-U-R, or in the Hebrew Pawar, right, which means lot. But then when you add a Ya and a Ma then, or Yam, since it's masculine, it means Pawar Yam, or where you get the word Purim. So the name of this holy day literally means lots. Between today and tomorrow, we'll get into why this holy day is known as lots, or casting the lot, right? Like a gamble of sorts. All right, so welcome, and let's begin. We're going to be going back and forth between the, as they refer to it, the 66 books and the Apocrypha. So the Bible I'm reading from actually has the Apocrypha included. It's part of the original 1611 King James translation. If you guys go to King James Bible Online .org, you can find these books too. And then you go to the bottom of the page and then click KJV Apocrypha. You can find it that way as well. But most of you guys I think have hard copies, but if not, I'll just post the link real quick of a nice online reference you guys can use. So it's KingJamesBibleOnline.org. And once you go all the way to the bottom left, where they have a sitemap, you'll see it says KJV Bible, and you'll see King James Bible Apocrypha. So I'll just show you real quick before I show the other thing I want to present. So let me do this. So I'll just present it real quick so you guys can see and follow along. So this is a page you can go to follow along if you see the top, KingJamesBibleOnline.org. And then when you scroll all the way to the bottom, you'll see the sitemap down here, and you see KJV Bible over here on the bottom left, and you'll see KJV Apocrypha. So if I click that, then it'll take me to this page. So it'll be King James Bible Online / Apocrypha -books / and you can find additions to Esther. So we'll be back and forth between Esther and the King James, the 66 books, and then additions to Esther, which is also the King James, but found in the Apocrypha. So we'll be going back and forth between these two. So like I said, just a free online resource if you newly started joining us and you may not have an Apocrypha handy. So I'll just post that link real quick and then we'll get started. Okay. So now let's get into the beginning of the editions of the book of Esther. Okay, so what we want to do is, and page numbers I don't think are the same here, but for folks to have their red apocryphers, we're going to go to the editions of the book of Esther, which begin after the book of Tobit, which comes after the book of Judith, and then after Judith, we have the rest of the chapters of the book of Esther, which you'll find in the Apocrypha. Like I said, I have a copy of one here. It's a King James version, but not with the red cover. But we're going to start here. First, we're just going to read from Esther, not the first thing where it says part of the 10th chapter after the Greek. We're going to start in chapter 11 and verse 1. So what you want to do is go in your table of contents and the Apocrypha first. So that's going to be your red books. And you look up where the book of Esther is page-wise. And we're not going to start the first section where it says part of the 10th chapter after the Greek, but chapter 11 in verse 1. Can someone help the sister out? It's in the Apocryphal sister, the red one.
Okay.
We're going to come to that after we read this. So just say Khan when you guys have in the Apocrypha Esther chapter 11. And we're going to start in verse 2. I know it's kind of weird, you say. So we're not reading part of the 10th chapter after the Greek, because that's not going to come until later, until tomorrow. We'll start in chapter 11, but not verse 1, but verse 2. Verse 1 is actually what we'll wrap up after we finish tomorrow. So we're really going to do Isaiah 28, 9, and 10. Here a little and there a little. So this is Esther chapter 11 and verse 2. It reads, in the second year of the reign of Artaxerxes the Great. So you read about this Artaxerxes the Great. He's the one that's referred to as Xerxes the First. He was the son of Darius the Great. If you look him up in a primary source, right? Who lived during the 5th century or the 400s, the late 400s. And you go into this particular Xerxes because you had more than one man that had the name. It says, in the first day of the month, Nisan, which that number of month is coming up, but right now we know we're in the 12th month. But just let's know the time period of when this was happening and during whose reign. It says Mordecaius, we're going to see his name spelled as Mordecai when we read the 6 books. It says the son of Jairus, the son of Semai, the son of Hesai of the tribe of Benjamin, had a dream, right? So his brother is a Benjamite of that tribe, and it says he had a dream. Verse 3, who was a Jew and dwelt in the city of Susa. So there we see that title there, Jew. And we got to ask that question before. We said, okay, what's the difference between being a Hebrew and being a Jew, right? So pretty much just a Jew, it's just short for Judah, generally referring to the southern kingdom that was known as the kingdom of Judah, at least before the Babylonian captivity came on when we were taken out of there. So the northern kingdom was referred to as Israel, and then the southern kingdom was referred to as Judah. And then later on, it was referred to as Judea by the Romans at a later time. The northern kingdom was also called Samaria as well. So Jews is short for Judah, referring to our people generally, but the name came from the kingdom of Judah, which was known as the southern kingdom. It says, who was a Jew and dwelt in the city of Susa, a great man being a servitor in the king's court. So this Susa is like the capital city of the Persian Empire, kind of like how DC would be for the United States, right? In every country you read about has a capital, right? Verse 4, he was also one of the captives which Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, don't be taken back by the spellings here. This is the same as Nebuchadnezzar from the 66 books. Carried from Jerusalem with Jeconias, king of Judea, and this was his dream, right? Because you had the Babylonians took many of our people out, and then what happened was you had a changing of the guards of sorts, where you had the Babylonians, while they were the top ruler for a certain period of time, fell out of favor. And then Daniel, another place in the Babylonian Empire, had a dream too. Who actually was able to interpret, he had dreams also, but he predicted the writing on the wall, the famous writing on the wall, that showed that the Babylonians would fall to the Persians and the Medes, and they would become the next rulers. So this is some time later, during the time of the Persians and the Medes, when they're the top ruler. But some time had gone by from that time of the Babylonians to the time of the Persians. And some of our people were still in the land of our captivity, even though you had, during different periods, groups of us going back. Verse 5, here's the dream. Behold, a noise of a tumult or commotion, with thunder and earthquakes and uproar in the land. 6, and behold, 2 great dragons came forth ready to fight, and their cry was great. And at their cry, all nations were prepared to battle, that they might fight against the righteous people. And lo, a day of darkness and obscurity, tribulation and anguish, affliction and great uproar upon the earth. And the whole righteous nation was troubled, fearing their own evils, and were ready to perish. Then they cried unto power, or God, and upon their cry, as it were from a little fountain, was made a great flood, even much water. The light and the sun rose up, and the lowly were exalted and devoured the glorious. So now all these things might seem kind of cryptic, right? You say, okay, what's this about? You the righteous people, ready to perish. This little fountain became a great flood, much water, two dragons. What's all this mean? So as you read the events that transpire in these books of Esther, right, we're going to get exactly what this vision that Mordecai is having, what it actually means, right? Because it's just talking about a series of events that they're going to take place that we're going to read about tonight and remember. It says, the light and the sun rose up, and the lowly were exalted and devoured the glorious. Now, when Mordecai, who had seen this dream and what God had determined to do, was awake, he bare this dream in mind, and until night, by all means, was desirous to know it, right? So we've had different examples of this, right? Where, and the scriptures talk about this, that the Most High will show us visions and dreams, right? And these visions and dreams will reveal certain things that are going to take place. We've had classes on it sometimes because some of us may have even had dreams before we learned the truth or the way of righteousness. And there may be questions when it comes to, wow, this dream, is this dream of God or was this dream of something else? Because remember, while we turn back to the Most High in truth, we also have evil there too that can take a gift we live and blessed with and try to make it into a curse if we're not careful. The thing we usually say as a rule of thumb is, if there's a question about whether or not a dream that you may have had was sent from the Most High, then more than likely it wasn't. If the Most High sends you a dream, you best believe that it's coming from Him. In all things in righteousness, right? So we'll see people in the world that talk about dreams, interpreting dreams, and have their own way about going about do things. And that shouldn't take us or surprise us, because spirituality isn't, solely tied to what we do in righteousness. We do it with the Holy Spirit, but you have all types of spirits out there, right? That can even do miraculous things, but they're on the left-hand side. So we want to make sure we don't get confused. So let's now go to the book of Esther in the 66 books, but I just wanted to read Esther 11, 2 to 12 to start. In your notes, anytime you take notes in additions to Esther, you can just probably put Esther, just put like an A or APOC next to anytime you write Esther down, you're taking notes from the Apocrypha. That way, when you go back through, if this is something you're not familiar with or it's your first time, you can know when you wrote down the scriptures that came from editions of Esther in the Apocrypha versus Esther in the 66 books, as they're commonly referred to as. So now we're going to Esther in the 66 books, the one that comes after Nehemiah, chapter 1 and verse 1. Now we read about the dream that Mordecai had. Okay? So everybody has that, Esther chapter 1, verse 1. Okay, so it reads, Esther chapter 1, verse 1. Now it came to pass in the days of Ahasuerus, this is Ahasuerus, which reigned from India even unto Ethiopia, over 107 and 20 provinces. Right? So talking about Ahasuerus, right, which we liken unto Artaxerxes, right? Once again, we're going to see certain names be spelled slightly different. And what I'll do too, I'll just post this link. I usually do, especially as we go through Chronicles and we're reading about, different locations. But when you go to this link that I'm about to post in the chat, and I'll share my screen too, just so you guys can see it. And then we'll get through the story. It's always nice to be able to visualize and kind of see where certain things are happening. right? So when you read it, it kind of comes alive. You put yourself in the shoes of those that were living during those times, right? In some circumstances, it may have actually been us, right? The scriptures tell us that we come back every third or fourth generation. So we might have been a different man or woman back then, but we're the same spirit. We read that in the Ten Commandments, that our spirit comes back every third or fourth generation. And one of the key examples we always like to point to as evidence of this is Elijah, right, who was in the time of the Old Testament, who then came back as John the Baptist. Okay, so you guys should be able to see. So as I share this, right, this is, and I'll try to zoom in so you guys can see clear. So this is map number 82 that begins the Persian period. So as I zoom in some, so you guys can get a closer look. This is going back a century before the events that we're reading right now, but this just shows pretty much the region of the rulers where they had different things set up. In the green in the middle being Babylonia. We see Egypt being orange, and then we see Media or the Medes, that's golden color towards the upper right. And then we've got Persia initially, which says vassal of the Medes, because they were like a dual empire, right? That ruled at the same time with each other. Now, Cyrus was their first ruler we read about that took out the Babylonians and became the first ruler over Persia. But the time period we're in now with this particular Artaxerxes is a little bit later, after Darius the Great, whose son will be the one to take over. So this map right here is just showing Cyrus the Great. He was the one that took over during the time of Daniel when he predicted the writing on the wall, right? And we have some different arrows here. This is map number 83. But now to kind of get an idea of where we're at in the story of Esther, this map 84 gives us a more comprehensive map of the whole of the Persian Empire, as we can see. When we look at the caption, it tells us Persian Empire. It mentions certain battles. If you look eastward, we can even find where Susa is, or this capital we're just reading about. So we have here the Indus Valley over here on the far right. We see Hindush India, right? So that's the nation of Elam, right? You see them in the east, but then you also see over here on the left side of the map, you have Egypt, right? And then you have Ethiopia right underneath it, right? And what they refer to as the Horn of Africa. So this is the map of the Medo-Persian Empire, right? At its height, covering all the different places they had dominion over. So they were like the top dog at this time, right? In this map 84. And where this red line is going from the east westward, and you see a black line going the other way, this is actually where Susa is. If I zoom in, you guys can see Susa right there in the middle, that yellow dot. And then we see right here, Xerxes sacks Babylon in 480 BC. It's going to when he began to be that top ruler. This Ahasuerus being the same as that Artaxerxes we read about in the additions to Esther, we just read in Esther 11, 2 to 12. All right, so I'm going to zoom back out. Let's get more so into the story, but just want to show that visual before we continue. So let's go back to Esther. In the 66 books, chapter 1, I'll read verse 2 again. It says that in those days, when the king Ahasuerus sat on the throne of his kingdom, which was in Shushan the palace, in the third year of his reign, he made a feast unto all his princes and his servants, the power of Persia and Media. I just showed you those maps. The nobles and princes of the provinces being before him. Provinces are like states, like how we have states in the United States, right? Provinces are function in a similar fashion. It's like different regions within the empire. Verse 4, when he showed the riches of his glorious kingdom and the honor of his excellent majesty many days, even 180 days, right? So we had this really long celebration, right, to show forth his strength as he's now the new ruler. Verse 6, where were white, green, and blue hangings fastened with cords of fine linen and purple to silver strings and pillars of marble. The beds were of gold and silver upon a pavement of red and blue and white and black marble, right? So real fancy, right? And they gave them drink in vessels of gold, the vessels being diverse one from another, in royal wine in abundance, according to the state of the king, right? So everything done up nice and lavish, right? As they now have the chief dominion, the chief power and authority. 8, and the drinking was according to the law, none did compel. For so the king had appointed to all the officers of his house that they should do according to every man's pleasure, right? So it was like all you can drink, all you'd like to drink. If you didn't want to drink too much, fine. If you wanted to partake in more, you could. So they had their own law, right? Just like any time you have any rulership, any government, they're going to have the laws that they push, right? The laws that they promote, right? And we see that being the same thing, in this time today, right? Especially here in the West with America always talking about the Constitution, right? How important the Constitution is, right? Verse 9, also Vashti the queen made a feast for the women in the royal house, which belonged to King Ahasuerus. So now he had a queen named Vashti who made a feast for the women that they could partake in as well. So this relationship between Ahasuerus and Vashti is going to be important. It's going to lead into why it's referred to as the book of Esther, and why she's important, and the events that are going to lead up to her taking center stage. Verse 10, on the 7th day, when the heart of the king was merry with wine, he commanded Mehuman, Biztha, Abona, Bigtha, and Abagtha, Zethar, and Carcass, the 7 chamberlains that served in the presence of Ahasuerus, the king, right? And those names sound funny when you translate them to English, right? You say, what names are those? But according to the Persian tongue, they make sense, right? Those names had meanings. Verse 11, to bring Vashti the queen before the king with the crown royal, to show the people and the princess her beauty, for she was fair to look upon, right? So Queen Vashti, she was easy on the eyes, right? So sometimes with rulers, be they men or women, sometimes, they may not be so attractive. Other times they are, right? Dependent. It says, verse 12, but the Queen Vashti refused to come at the king's commandment by his chamberlains. Therefore was the king very wroth, and his anger burned in him, right? So she was summoned by the king, but she didn't come, right? And it became a known thing. So now what happens? Read on in verse 13. It says, when the king said to the wise men, which knew the times, for so was the king's manner toward all that knew law and judgment, right? So people who pretty much, want to keep a pulse or keep your ear to the streets to kind of see, okay, what's going on throughout Persia as far as the lifestyle, the attitude, the way of thinking, right? Similar to like what we have today, right? People who will be in the ruler's cabinet to try to understand, the pulse of the people at any given time. We see the big corporations too that oftentimes can even rival governments in these times, where they'll have people that are professionals when it comes to sales and marketing to know what things should be done during different times. I guess someone could try to open that door, maybe, unless it's coming from the other side. The smoke stops. So. You can open the door and let some air out, but I don't think it's it must be the other side. Mm-hmm. And pardon us, we've got the fire alarm going off here, but we'll continue on. But now reading on in looks like we left off in 13. So I'm gonna read the book of Esther, chapter 1, in verse 14. I'm not sure how loud that is, but maybe if it persists, I might just mute for a moment until the fire alarm subsides. But this is a book of Esther, chapter 1, and verse 14. It reads, "And the next unto him was Karshina, Shetha, Admatha, Tarshish, Meres, Marcina, and Memucan, the 7 princes of Persia and Media, which saw the king's face, and which sat the first in the kingdom." Right? So this is like the king's main entourage, right? That he sat down with, that he would sit, and they would pretty much give him their advice or their counsel when he would request it, right? To advise him on ways he should be, things that he should say under certain circumstances, right? So like his inner circle, if you will. Reading on to verse 15, it reads, "What shall we do unto the queen Vashti according to the law, because she had not performed the commandment of the king Ahasuerus by the chamberlains?" Right? So even though it's a time of celebration, we had the situation where she didn't come when summoned. So now they're sitting around and saying, what should we do given the situation? Given, her not following the law of the king, and then how it's going to be perceived by the people. It reads in verse 16, "And Memucan answered before the king and the princes, Vashti the queen had not done wrong to the king only, but also to all the princes and to all the people that are in all the provinces of the king Ahasuerus. For this deed of the queen shall come abroad unto all women, so that they shall despise their husbands in their eyes, when it shall be reported, the king Ahasuerus commanded Vashti the queen to be brought in before him, but she came not." So Memucan's looking at this and he's saying, yeah, this thing is gonna pretty much be perceived as something that's pretty much permissible when it comes to men and women and how they interact with each other in a relationship. When you look at any rulership and look at those that are in top authority, people or the subjects of those people look to themselves as like they look up to their rulers or their leaders as like a reflection of themselves. They aspire to be how their kings and how their queens are. So Memucan, knowing that, he's saying to himself, this behavior might be a thing that becomes widespread. There's a scripture even talks about this too. When you read it, it talks about this. This is at Ecclesiasticus chapter 10. So Ecclesiasticus chapter 10. I'm going to start with the first couple verses. Ecclesiasticus chapter 10. I'm going to start from verse 1. So Ecclesiasticus comes after Wisdom of Solomon. And then go to chapter 10, and then start from verse 1, where Ecclesiasticus 10 and 1. This is 2 and 23, so we'll stop for this section. So Ecclesiasticus chapter 10 and verse 1. Ecclesiasticus not being the same as Ecclesiastes, but Ecclesiasticus in the Apocrypha. Chapter 10 and verse 1, it reads, "A wise judge will instruct his people, And the government of a prudent man or a wise man is well ordered. But here's the key. Verse 2, it reads, as the judge of the people is himself, so are his officers. What manner of man the ruler of the city is, such are all they that dwell therein. So the common folk take their lead from those that be in authority. So Mamukin, understanding that, he said, yeah, we need to really do something because, we'll have all our families pretty much being broken up to where the women won't take heed to their husbands anymore, right? If we don't deal with the situation accordingly as the people are witnessing this, right? And looking to us as the rulers. I'll just read 1 and 2 of Ecclesiasticus 10. And then, so right now we're just talking more so with the domestic situation between the husband and wife, albeit them being rulers, but it goes for all aspects when it comes to government. And even if the governments present themselves one way, but then do things behind closed doors, even if the people don't know, that's still going to manifest itself in due time, right? And I think America is a good example to take note of, where they do a lot of things behind closed doors. And what America does, not so much what they say, how they present themselves, but what they've done over the years, over the decades, right? We now see it being manifested, or the fruits of those labors now being manifested in all things we see happening in America today. Oh, and what we see here. So this is Proverbs 29. I'm going to read Proverbs 29. I'm going to read verse 12 to go along with Ecclesiasticus 10 and 2. So Proverbs 29 and 12, it reads, once again, Proverbs 29 and 12. If a ruler hearken to lies, all his servants are wicked. See that? So reflecting, we read in Ecclesiastes 10, 1 and 2. The people being a reflection of those that be in charge. We even see with this changing of the guard, we know it's two wings of the same bird, but we see with Trump now in authority, you have a lot of people, different levels of government, especially in the federal government, resigning, right? Resigning from their positions because they don't want to be, they don't agree with the current president and his methods, etc. And for folks who are parked up front, I'm thinking it's just you. Nobody, as long as no one's blocking the fire hydrant, we should be good. So let's go back to Esther in the 66 books. And we left off in chapter 1. We're in verse 18 now. So now Esther chapter 1 and verse 18, back in the 66 books, it reads, once again, Esther chapter 1 and verse 18. It says, likewise shall the ladies of Persia and Media say this day unto all the king's princes which have heard of the deed of the queen, that shall there arise too much contempt and wrath. Verse 19 now says, if it please the king, let there go a royal commandment from him, and let it be written among the laws of the Persians and of the Medes, that it cannot be altered, that Vashti come no more before King Ahasuerus, and let the king give her royal estate, and another unto another that is better than she. Right? So the council that came up to, or came with, was that there should be a law written among the Medes and the Persians. Oh, Kabar, if you could. I don't mind. You just gotta go out front because just coming in the microphone.
Hold on. Say it again, bro.
You just go into the like go outside for the.
I'm gonna go back. Well, this is mop.
I got you. I know. But just so that's not. At least for folks that are still trying to listen with the alarm. Thank you. So I'll read verse 19 again. If it please the king, let there go a royal commandment from him, and let it be written among the laws of the Persians and the Medes, that it be not altered, if Vashti come no more before the king as an heiress, and let the king give her royal estate unto another that is better than she. Right? So the council that came up with is to say, okay, let's actually find a replacement for Queen Vashti, to pretty much salvage our estate, to salvage, our optics as far as how we're looking here when it comes to the king and when it comes to the court and everything that the Medes and the Persians are built on. And they're going to do this. Why? It says in verse 20, and when the king's decree, which he shall make, shall be published throughout all his empire, for it is great. I showed you that map, 127 provinces, right? This news will travel fast, even back then. All the wives shall give to their husbands honor, both to great and small. Just sit tight, everybody. We're just going to pause the stream for a moment. We're to pick up shortly. Just give us a few more moments. So please hang in there. And apologies for any inconvenience, Israel. Sit tight. Okay, Israel. So still trying to resolve what's going on. We're having the PFD check out the downstairs already. No evidence of any smoke or leak, so they're checking the upstairs. We reached out to the landlord too in the adjoining buildings just to see what they can maybe ascertain as far as where this what might be triggering this fire alarm going on. Oh, sorry. Hold on 1 second, guys. I'll be right back.